So if you invest in a company that pays a dividend, you're gonna get a check every 3 months. Your cover letter needs to be the place where you are selling yourself and why you are the best person for this position. You got to keep the cash and you don't get the sweater, but at least you got some cash. What's up everybody, I am Jaspreet Singh from theMinorityMindset.com, where money minds rethink rich. If you're looking for some hacks that can put some more money in your pocket today, you're in the right place, because in this video, I put together some of our best clips that will help you put some more money in your pocket. Let's get into it. Most people's biggest expense is their house, because every month you gotta pay this rent check or this mortgage check. But what if there was a way for you to live without a housing payment and without having to wait 30 years to pay off your mortgage? Yes, it is possible, and I'm gonna be talking about it in this video. But before I get into that, I need you to do me a quick favor and smash that thumbs up button below, because the way the YouTube algorithm works, if you do not smash that thumbs up button, then YouTube is much less likely to show you and other people our financial news and education videos. To do this kind of house hacking, you have to find a loophole in the system. What's considered a home? Before you give me a sentimental answer like home is where the heart is, we're talking strictly financial right now, okay? When most people think of a home, here's what they're thinking. They're thinking of this building with a roof on it, with a door, with a couple windows, actually maybe more windows, and then a driveway. This is what most people think of when they think of a home. But technically speaking, that's not the only definition of a home. I mean, you can own a condo, which is one unit, which is attached to a lot of different units. Your home can be an apartment where now you're renting this one unit inside of a building with a bunch of different units. Your home can also be a mobile home. So there's a lot of different types of homes out there. And if you wanted to buy a home, this takes a lot of cash. And most people don't just have a ton of cash sitting in the bank account where they can just go and buy their own home completely with cash. So what do? You go over to the bank, and then the bank is gonna loan you some money. That way you have the cash to buy a home. So now the bank gives you this mortgage. That way you have the cash to buy this home. And then every month for the next 30 years after that, you're gonna be paying your bank back this mortgage plus a little bit of interest. So this is what people want to avoid. They don't want to have this big monthly payment because it is expensive. And for the majority of people, when they think of being this housing payment free, they have to wait 30 years until they can pay off their mortgage. But there's a little loophole that you can use which will allow you to no longer have this money come out of your personal bank account. You could have someone else pay this loan. Let me show you what I mean. So you have this really nice 4-unit multifamily building on sale for $1 million, and each one of these units rent for $2,000 a piece. They're pretty nice units, they're spacious, they're nice. When most people think of buying this 4-unit multifamily building, here's what they think. I'm gonna buy this multifamily building for $1 million, but I don't have $1 million in the bank, so now I gotta go to the bank and get this commercial real estate loan. That way I have the cash to buy this investment property. So you go to the bank's gonna say, hey, you wanna buy this property? Great. Put down $200,000, and then we, the bank, are gonna loan you $800,000, and because this is a commercial real estate loan, we're gonna charge you something around 6% a year in interest. If you're getting a commercial real estate loan, a business loan, it's going to cost you a whole lot more than a regular mortgage, which is why at this time it might be something around 6% interest, which means this $800,000 that you're borrowing is going to cost you as the investor $4,800 a month. This is how much money you're going to be paying the bank every single month to own this 4-unit building that you're renting out. At first glance, you might think, wow, that's a great deal. You're making $2,000, $2,000, $2,000, $2,000. That's $8,000 a month in rent, and you're only paying $4,800 to your bank. That's thousands of dollars of margin. Except you forgot property taxes and property insurance and maintenance fees and management fees and property vacancies. Those 5 fees that I just mentioned are probably gonna cost you something around $2,500 a month. This is in addition to your mortgage payment that you have to make every single month, your loan payment. So when your property is full, you'll be making $8,000 a month in revenue, and then you have to subtract your costs, which $4,800 plus $2,500, something around $7,300 a month, which leaves you with a few $100s of margin every single month to put in your pocket. And this can cover your vacancies that might come up and put some money in your pocket. But in this particular situation, you don't have a place to live. So now you're gonna have to go out and find another home to live in yourself, and you're gonna have to make a rent payment or a mortgage payment. And chances are this money that's left over after paying off whatever vacancies come up is not gonna be enough to cover your entire mortgage payment and your entire rent payment. So now let's reanalyze this deal, but this time you're gonna do something different. This time, instead of renting this property out to 4 different families, you're gonna rent it out to 3 different families, and you are gonna live in this unit right here for yourself. Remember when I asked you in the beginning of this video, what is a home? Well, from a legal perspective, as an attorney who is not your attorney, I can tell you that your home, which is called your primary residence, it can be a 1 unit, a 2 unit, a 3 unit, or a 4 unit property. So now if you go out and you buy this 4 unit multifamily building and you don't rent out all 4 units, you live in one of the units and you rent out the other 3. Now this is a 4 unit building that you are using as your primary residence, your home. When you use this house hacking loophole, there are 4 things that happen for you. First, you get a much cheaper loan because now you're buying a home and you can get a primary home mortgage instead of going out and getting a commercial business loan. At the time of me recording this video, this might only cost you 3% a year in interest. Compare that to what you would have to pay if you got the commercial loan like I talked about earlier. So now if you wanted to buy the same $1 million property and you put down $200,000, now your monthly mortgage payments are gonna drop from $4,800 a month to $3,373 a month. That's quite a big drop. $3,400 a month might sound steep depending on your income, but you have to remember one more thing. Your neighbors, your people attached to your building are all going to be paying you $2,000 a month to live in your building each. All right, now check this out. So $2,000, $2,000, $2,000. Every single month, your neighbors are going to be sending you $6,000 a month when your property is full. But you got some costs you have to pay, right? First thing you're going to do is you have to pay your bank. You're paying your bank $33.73 a month. And then you also have your regular building expenses, right? Your property taxes, your maintenance, your management fees, your vacancy costs, whatever this is, right? You have your regular cost to have a building, have a home, and this is going to cost you, from the previous example, $2,500 a month. This leaves you with $127 every single month that you have all your tenants in there, after paying your mortgage, after paying all of your housing payments, your taxes, your maintenance, everything for your home. You still have another $127 in your month because your neighbors are so generous that they decided to pay your mortgage for you. You get to live mortgage free because you don't have a housing payment anymore. Your neighbors are paying it for you. You're putting an extra $125 in your pocket every single month, and your neighbors are helping you build equity in this $1 million property every single month, and none of this equity is being built by you. It's being paid for by your neighbors. But now what if you don't want to pay that $200,000 down payment, or what if you don't have that $200,000 down payment? Well, that brings me to the second advantage of this loophole. This is where alternative types of financing come into play, like FHA loans. If you go the FHA loan route, now you might only have to put down 3.5% on your loan, but the issue with FHA loans is there's a limit to how big of a home that you can buy. But the interesting thing here is if you buy a multi-unit property, like a 4-unit home like I talked about, because 4 units count as a home, then the FHA limit increases. But before I get into that, let me also remind you that more debt comes with more risk. If you're only putting 3.5% down, you don't have as much skin in the deal, and you have bigger multi-mortgage payments. And so just understand that more debt comes with more risk, and if you don't have a big enough equity in your property, then you're also going to have to pay PMI. But it is an option for some people who want to get into this house hacking game. In certain areas, you would be allowed to buy this 4-unit property with just 3.5% down with an FHA loan, which means you only have to put down $35,000, and now you have this 4-unit property that you're renting out to 3 other people. Now in this situation, your mortgage payments are going to jump to $4,000 a month. Okay, let's do the math. $2,000, $2,000, $2,000. You have $6,000 coming into your pocket every month from your tenants, and then the first thing you got to do is you got to pay the bank $4,000. So you pay the bank $4,000, and then you have to pay the additional $2,500 a month to manage the property, property taxes and everything else. That means every single month out of your pocket, you're gonna have to pay $500 to live here, but you also have a $1 million property that you're building equity in each and every month, and most of that is being paid by your tenant. And in this situation, you only had to pay $35,000 down to buy this $1 million property. The third benefit, remember I said there's 4, the third benefit is that now you can sell this property for a profit and not pay any taxes. If I, Jasprit Singh, the real estate investor, come in and I buy this property to rent out. So now I'm not living here, I'm renting out all 4 units, and I rent it out for a year, and a year goes by and I realize, ooh, I can sell this property for $1.2 million, and now I sell this property for $1.2 million. Hey, I made $200,000 in a year, which is great, but I got to pay taxes on that $200,000 of profits. These $200,000 of profits of selling this investment property are called long-term capital gains, and so I'm going to have to pay taxes on $200,000, and so I'm only going to keep a fraction of that. But when this is your home, remember, this is your personal residence, which means this is your home. You can do that if you have 4 units. So if this is your home, you have a special tax exemption which says you can sell your home for up to $250,000 profit and you don't have to pay any taxes. And if you own the home as a married couple, then you can sell your home for up to a $500,000 profit, which means you could sell this home for $1.5 million and then you wouldn't have to pay a penny in profit. But sticking with the example, if you buy this home and you live here, and then you can have your tenants, your neighbors, pay you rent every single month, and now your neighbors are paying for your mortgage. They're building you equity in your home, and now if you sell this property, your home, for $1.2 million, you lived in this home free, you built equity free thanks to your neighbors, and now you can sell this property and walk away with a couple $100,000 cash in your pocket. And yes, that's tax free. And then the fourth benefit is you can do something that I like to call multi-level house hacking. At the time of me recording this video, most lenders have a rule that you are not allowed to rent out your primary residence unit. So if you buy this property, you can buy it as a home, your own personal residence, but you're not allowed to rent out your unit for at least 12 months. But after 12 months, you typically have the right to turn this unit into a rental unit as well. So now you move out and now you just got this new rental unit. Remember, if I bought this property initially as an investment property, I'd be paying 6% interest. I'd have to put $200,000 down and my monthly payments would be $4,800 a month. But if I buy this property as my own home and I live here for a year, remember, I can get this at a 3% mortgage. I can still put down $200,000, but now my monthly payments are gonna be something like, what was it, $3,400, something like that a month. And now I can live here for a year, not have to pay any housing payments because my neighbors are paying for everything, put $100 into my pocket every month, and then a year later, I can move out and then put an additional $2,000 into my pocket every month because these 3 tenants are paying the mortgage, they're paying all the housing bills, they're paying for everything else. This tenant is just profit after I move out. So now this new property where I just moved out of can keep paying me that $2,000 a month every single month because now your interest rate doesn't change. Your bank is gonna let you keep this 3% interest rate, which you're not allowed to get if you're buying it as an investment property. But here's the dilemma. If you move out of this property, you still need a place to live, right? So you lived in this property for a year, you didn't have to make any housing payments because your neighbors paid it for you, you built equity in this property, and then a year and a day later, you move out, you bring in a new tenant, and so you're putting another couple $1,000s in your pocket, but you need a place to live. So here's what you can do. Now, you find another property like this, another 4-unit property, and guess what? You start this process all over again. All right, let me just finish drawing the windows. I drew the doorknob before the door. All right, now you have 4 new units, and now guess what? You move here, you rent out these 3 units to your neighbors. Each of these neighbors are paying you $2,000 a month, and you start this process again. There's no limit to how many times you do this. And every single year, you can buy a new property, you can let your neighbors pay your mortgage, and you can continue building equity in more and more investment properties. Do this system 5 times, and now you have 5 different investment properties with very low interest rate debt that are making you a profit every single month, that you're building equity on every single month, that your neighbors are paying for you to live there for every single month. Oh, and after 5 of them, you also have $10,000 coming into your pocket as profit every single month through passive income. I know it's a lot easier said than done, but this process is possible and it's a very accessible way for you to go and get involved in real estate because now you are having your own property where you're living in, but you're also building these rental streams, and when you're ready, you can move out and do it again. Now, before I let you go, if you are interested in buying your own home, our team put together an awesome article that can help you get a mortgage or refinance your mortgage. It will show you how you can save money and interest and how you can find a great option to get a mortgage or to refinance your mortgage. You can read this article on our blog, our website, by clicking the link up here, and I'll also link it for you in the description below. Before we get into the next clip, I want to let you know that if you are interested in money management and investing, our team put together an amazing guide that you can download for free that walks you through how to manage your money the right way and how to invest your money and how you can build your wealth over the long term. So if you want to download this guide and start learning how you can be better with your money and how you can start investing for wealth, You can download this guide for free when you subscribe to our daily newsletter, and I got the link to how you can download this guide in the description below. Let's jump right into today's video. If you're broke and you want to have more money or you want to make more money, there's two things that you need to do, and there's two things that you need to address. You need to first look at the financial side of things, and then you got to look at the mental side of things. The financial is how you attract the money, and it's what you do with the money you get. The mental is what's keeping you in this place where you are right now. The last thing you want to do is start making money. So you're working on the financial side of things, but you're not working on the mental side of things. So now you're making more money, but you're not changing the habits that you had in the first place. And so yeah, you can make more money, but you're gonna end up in the same place you were before. Broke. Let's start by understanding the financial. Here are 10 ways that you can start earning more money right now, even if you're broke or don't have a degree or feel like you don't have any qualifications. First, you can deliver groceries for people through apps like Amazon or Instacart or Shipt. You go onto one of these apps and apply to be one of the delivery drivers, and now anytime you get an order, you're gonna go to the grocery store, pick up the groceries, and drop it off to the owner's house. If you do this extra grocery delivery service on the side, you can make an additional $200 to $500 a week, depending on what area you live in and how much work you're willing to put in. You can rent out an extra room or your bedroom or your basement or your entire house on Airbnb to somebody else. If you're not going to be home for a weekend or for a week or for a month, well, now you can rent out your home or your bedroom or whatever you have to somebody else and let them pay you rent for living in your property. Depending on where you live and how big your space is, this can earn you an extra $100 to $1,000 a weekend, and you don't got to really do any work. You can drive people around as an Uber or a Lyft driver. Now you're going to apply to be a driver through Uber or Lyft, and when people want a ride, whether it's to the airport or to go to their friend's house, you're going to get that notification, you pick them up and you drop them off, and you get paid to do that. From what I read online, you can expect to make something like $15 an hour, but don't forget to factor in the cost of your car and your gas and your insurance. You can be a dog walker. People spend more money on their dogs than they do their kids, and so if somebody has a dog and they're busy at work all day and they don't have time to walk their dog, they will pay you to walk their dog for them. Depending on where you live and how many dogs you're walking, you can expect to make $15 to $40 per walk, and you're getting some exercise. You can deliver food on Grubhub or Postmates or DoorDash. This is kind of like delivering groceries with Instacart or Amazon. Now instead of you delivering groceries, you're going to deliver food. So if you get a notification that somebody wants P.F. Chang's, you're going to go to P.F. Chang's, pick up the order and drop it off, and you get paid. You can expect to make $200 to $500 a week depending on how much time you put in. You can mow people's lawns or shovel their snow. Just walk around your neighborhood and knock on people's doors, or if you don't live in a neighborhood, go to somebody's neighborhood and knock on people's doors and ask them if you can mow their lawn or shovel their snow. This is an easy way to make $20 per house. If you're young and juicy and you got some muscle and maybe a truck too, then you can move people's stuff. If you own a truck and you don't mind lifting things, you can make a lot of money just helping people move things from one house to another. All you gotta do is go into Craigslist and put an ad out there for your services, and you can make $100 for just a couple hours of work. The next few that I have are digital, and you can do all of these from the comfort of your home. You can be a freelancer using something like Fiverr or Upwork. The way it works is you are gonna market your skills on Fiverr or Upwork. So whether that's social media marketing or writing or coding or design, or if you don't feel like you have any skills, you can just market yourself as a virtual assistant. Now you can get paid just to answer people's emails. And so now when you put your ad up on Fiverr or Upwork, businesses who need help can hire you as a freelancer. These gigs can pay you $15 to $50 an hour depending on how experienced you are, and if you find a good client, this will be repeat work week after week after week. You can be an affiliate marketer. The way affiliate marketing works is now you are selling somebody else's product on the internet, and anytime somebody buys that product from you, you get paid. So for an example, let's say you're into fitness and you become an affiliate for a protein supplement that you really like. Now you're gonna market this protein supplement, whether it's through Instagram or you create a blog or you advertise it. So you're marketing this protein supplement, and anytime you can sell this protein supplement, you might make $15. The great thing about affiliate marketing is you are marketing somebody else's product. So you don't have to worry about manufacturing a product or customer service or anything like that. All you have to do is drive the sales. In the beginning, as an affiliate marketer, you are gonna make no money. But if you stick with it and you put in the work day after day after day, in 6 to 8 months, you can very comfortably be making $1,000 a month on the side as an affiliate marketer. And finally, you can put out content on YouTube or podcast. I can tell you from personal experience that you can make a ton of money creating content. but it's very difficult. In the first 12 months of me making YouTube videos, I made less than $3,000. It took me with Minority Mindset about 3 years before we really started to make decent money off of YouTube. So if you plan on creating content, this is not something that you can really rely on to make money right away. This is something that can take you years to really pick up. But if you like the idea of creating content, and you like the idea of putting out information, then this can be something you do for the long term. The vast majority of people on YouTube make less than $100 a month. Now, you can make a whole lot more money than $100 a month, but it's not gonna happen overnight, and there's no way to really predict how long it's gonna take. This is the financial side of things. If you're broke right now, start doing one of these things, that way you can make money. Then as you start making money, make sure you use your money the right way. I already made a video on YouTube where I went over the things you need to do as soon as you get paid. If you want to watch that video, I will link it for you in the description below. But you also have to ask yourself, how do you master the mental part of being financially successful? How do you master the mental part of becoming wealthy? It's not going to happen just by making more money. I mean, if that was the case, then you wouldn't see the vast majority of lottery winners be bankrupt or broke just 5 years after winning the lottery. And you wouldn't see the vast majority of NFL players broke or bankrupt just 5 years after retiring from the NFL and making a big salary. Now, obviously, some of that has to do with the way you spend your money, but you also have to understand the mindset part of things. The very first thing you want to do is you got to stop setting boundaries for yourself. Don't give yourself a ceiling. You've probably heard people say that you are the average of the 5 people around you. And the reason why this is true is because all of us, whether you want to believe it or not, live in a bubble. We are surrounded by our family and our close friends, and these are the people that influence us the most. And so what we see is what we do. If everybody you know is broke, all of your friends are broke, your parents are broke, how are you gonna learn to become wealthy? And how are you gonna learn how to use your money the right way? And how are you gonna learn how to earn more money? I mean, if all you see is broke, how are you gonna break out of that system unless you break out of that bubble? I grew up in a traditional Indian house, and everybody around me had the same beliefs and the same mindset. Everybody said that if you want to become successful, all you gotta do is be a doctor. So go to school, study hard, get good grades, go to medical school, become a doctor, and now you are automatically going to be successful. And anytime I would talk to somebody about anything else, investing, money management, I was always shut down because nobody would talk about it. Nobody in my circle knew what investing was. Nobody had heard of real estate investing. Nobody had heard of how you could build wealth without being a doctor. And so I wasn't exposed to anything else because I lived in this bubble. That's when I started reading, because reading was the only way that I could start accessing people who are good at what they do outside of my bubble. Because if you are broke, or if you don't know rich people, or if you don't know investors, or if you don't know wealthy people, how are you gonna get in touch with a random investor and have them teach you all of their secrets? Okay, maybe you can go onto YouTube and learn a lot there, but you can also learn a lot from books. Start by reading books about personal development and money. Get yourself a copy of Rich Dad Poor Dad, any Dave Ramsey book, The Millionaire Next Door, Think and Grow Rich, and a book by Tony Robbins. Once you start doing that, now you are absorbing information about money, and you're also learning about personal development. How do you stop giving yourself these ceilings on how you can live your life? The first step to getting out of that bubble is to just start absorbing information. I mean, once you start reading these books, you're probably gonna get into this binge of just reading book after book after book and watching YouTube videos, because it's a whole new world and a whole new bubble that you've probably never been exposed to, and you need to just start absorbing. After a while, you are gonna graduate from these books, and you're not gonna get much more value out of reading these books, because now it's time for you to start taking action. But this is where your mindset is so important, because your mindset is what determines your beliefs, and your beliefs are what are going to determine your actions. Like, if you don't believe that you can become successful, then you're not going to take any action to become successful. If you don't believe you can start a business, you're not going to start a business. If you don't believe that somebody like you can invest in real estate, then I can guarantee you are never going to invest in real estate. I used to guest teach entrepreneurship and money management in Detroit public schools, and these were like really rough schools where a lot of kids didn't have 2 parents in the house, and most of these kids lived in poverty. And when I would go to talk to these kids who were in high school about money management, one of the things that I would talk to them about just to get them excited was, what's your favorite car? What's your dream car? And the answers that I would get from these kids were like, I would drive a Ford Mustang or a Buick. Then I would go back, like, if you could drive any car in the world, what would you drive? And they would give me the same answers: Ford Mustang, Buick. And then I would say, well, why not a Lamborghini? or a Ferrari or a Rolls Royce. And they would say something like, oh, I don't think I could ever get that car. The first thing you gotta do is stop telling yourself you can't do something, because when you do that, you give yourself this limit, this ceiling, this cap, and you gotta break out of that. Because we can do a whole lot bigger, but your mind is limiting you. Yeah, maybe you can't get that car right now, but you gotta ask yourself, how can you get it in the future? Now you're not giving yourself a limit. Now you're thinking bigger. Now instead of shutting your brain down, you're wondering, how can you actually make it happen? The reason why this is so hard is not just because we're not taught this in school and because we have to change the way we think, but because now you have to go against what the majority of people think. That's why we call it the minority mindset. As soon as you start to think different like this, the whole world is gonna look at you like you're crazy. Why are you saving your money? Why are you investing your money? What are you trying to do with your money? When I was younger, anytime I made money, my money went to one or two places: my car or my watch. Anytime I made more money, I got an upgrade on my car. If I made more money, then I got a new watch. But once you start to change the way you think, then you're gonna change the way you spend. And when you change the way you spend, people start asking questions and they start to think if you lost your mind. That's when you gotta remember your purpose and your financial education. And as Eric Thomas says, you gotta know your why. Eric Thomas is a motivational speaker, and he was the person I used to listen to all throughout college to get my mindset right. So if you're broke and you're trying to figure out how to not be broke, you gotta work on the financial side of things, start earning more money and start understanding how you can save more money and invest more money, but you also have to work on the mindset side of things. That way you don't relapse into being broke again, because now you need to have the right mindset. Americans are not saving enough money. Just 40% of Americans have the means to protect them from an emergency like a leaky roof or needing to replace their tires, which means 60% of Americans, the majority of America, does not have the cash necessary to protect them from a leaky roof or having to replace the car tires without going into credit card debt or having to go to the bank and having to borrow money. Now, there's a lot more to becoming wealthy than just living smaller and cutting back expenses and saving your money and being cheap. I actually just made a video on YouTube where I talked about if being cheap can make you rich. So if you want to learn more about that, I will link that video for you in the description below and also for you up here. But you got to know how to take that first step. That way you can build your financial base. That way you can have some cash in the bank. And you know what? It really doesn't have to be as burdensome as just never spending any money and never having any fun if you know how to save your money the right way, which is why in this video, I'm going to be going over 10 ways that you can save $1,000 quickly. But before we get into that, I need you to do me a quick favor and smash that thumbs up button below, because the way the YouTube algorithm works, if you do not smash that thumbs up button, then YouTube is much less likely to show you and other people our financial news and education videos. And I'm gonna start by talking about why you need to review your bills. I'm a gym person. I love working out, and my gym membership cost me $70 a month to work out at my gym. But I noticed on my credit card statements that my gym membership wasn't charging me $70 a month, they were charging me $75 a month. And so I got kind of curious, what is this extra $5 for? So I called up the gym and they said that they signed me up for a magazine that I never knew that I signed up for, and that's why they were charging me an extra $5 a month. Now, I've had my gym membership for years, and I'll probably continue to have my gym membership for many years into the future, and they were just slapping on this $5 fee because they probably thought no one's gonna check their bills. Now, an extra $5 a month isn't really gonna change my life. I mean, maybe I guess I could afford another side of extra guac, but I'll get to that in a little bit. The whole idea here is you gotta figure out what you need and you gotta see what you're paying for. Chances are, if you pull out your credit card statement and you go through all of your bills, you're gonna find that you have subscription services that you do not need anymore, and you're gonna find that you're paying for things that you don't use. The simplest way that you can start saving some money is just stop paying for the things that you're not using anymore, because chances are you're paying for something that you're not even using. And when it comes to the things that you are using, like your gym membership, make sure you're only paying for what you use. Like if you got a gym membership, make sure you're only paying for the gym membership and not some magazine that you've never read in your life. Second, you gotta know the true cost of what you're buying. If you go to the mall and you buy yourself a nice $150 jacket, what is the true cost of your jacket? So many of you might be thinking at this point that if you bought a $150 jacket, the true cost is $150. But that's not the full story. Yeah, you paid $150, but I want you to really know what it cost you to get the $150. So let's say you make $20 an hour. So if you make $20 an hour, how long did it take you to make this $150? That would be what, 5, 6, 7, 7.5 hours of work to get this $150 jacket. but this is actually before taxes, because remember, Uncle Sam's got to take their cut with the IRS. So after taxes, it's actually going to cost you 9.5 hours of time to buy this jacket. Would you rather have the jacket, or would you rather have 9.5 hours of time? This is almost always one of the first calculations I have in my mind, because I always want to know, how much time is this thing going to cost me that I want to buy? Now, I get it. You can have passive investments that pay you without you having to physically work, but you got to know how much your time is worth. And if you know that, then you can calculate how much time this thing is going to cost you. And then you can really ask yourself, do I want to spend this money on this jacket? So now you know that the true cost of your jacket isn't just $150. It's almost 10 hours of your time. But the second thing you need to ask yourself when it comes to the true cost is, what would this jacket be worth in the future if you didn't buy a jacket? Because what I want to know is, if I didn't buy this jacket and I invested this money, what would this money have become? Because if I invested the $150, this $150 in 10 years would be worth not $150, but $300. And in 20 years, this money that I would have spent on my jacket wouldn't be $150. It would be about $600. And in 30 years, this $150 that I spent on my jacket would have become more than $1.1 thousand if I had just invested the money. So now, the real cost of this jacket isn't $150. It is almost 10 hours of my time, and it is the opportunity to make $1,100 over the next 30 years. Now you can ask yourself, do I really want to spend $150 on a jacket now? Too late, I already got it, Jasprit. One of the easiest ways to save money quickly is just to not spend our money. But the tough part about that is, when we want something, we want it right now. And so what I want you to do is just take a step back before you go out and you buy that jacket on impulse, or before you go and you buy something that you don't need. Just take a step back and ask yourself, what is the true cost? How much time would it cost you to actually get that? And how much money is this going to cost you over the long run? Once you do that, I want you to follow the 24-hour rule, which says you want to buy something, great. Now just take a step back, wait 24 hours, and then decide if you really want to buy it. If you still want to buy it and you do these calculations, then go out and buy it. But if after those 24 hours, you thought about how much time it's going to cost you, and you thought of how much money you're losing out of in the future, and now you decided not to buy it, well, now you just save some cash by not spending it. Third, let's talk about eating out and drinking out, because there's a huge debate in the financial world about coffee. You have people like Susie Orman who say that you going out and drinking Starbucks is one of the dumbest things that you can do with your money. And then you have people like Ramit Sethi who say the opposite. He says that it doesn't matter if you spend $5 at Starbucks, because $5 is just $5. It's not going to make a difference. And then you have people like Graham Stephan who popularized the 20-cent coffee because he makes his coffee at home. Now, honestly, I can't relate to any of that because I don't like coffee. Coffee tastes like poo-poo. I don't drink coffee. I drink tea. If you go out to Costco and you buy their big pack of green tea, it's gonna cost you something like 24 cents to drink one glass of tea. Now, personally, I'm a big fan of nice teas, because there's a difference between your kind of lower quality teas and your nicer teas. If you want a nice cup of tea, it is going to cost you somewhere between 35 cents to 50 cents if you make it at home. If you go out and you buy the same tea from a nice tea shop, it is going to cost you at a very minimum of $3.50. So clearly, if you went out and you made your tea yourself, you're going to save $3 every time you make your tea at home. But let's also talk about the food. If you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, you know that I love food, and more specifically, you know that I love guac. Now, if I go out and I go to Target and I buy an avocado right now, it is going to cost me something like 89 cents. Okay, if I go out and I buy this avocado, so I'm gonna draw you an avocado that looks more like a cookie than an avocado, but if I paid 89 cents for this avocado, I can make 4 sides of guac. Okay, now if you're like me and you really like guac, maybe this is just gonna make you one side, one avocado, one side, but let's assume that you can make 4 sides of guac from this one avocado. That means if you eat your guac at home, you are gonna be paying somewhere between 25 cents, I'm gonna round up here, to 89 cents for your side of guac. 89 cents if you're someone like me who wants to eat the whole avocado, 25 cents if you only wanna eat a fourth of that. Okay, you're gonna be paying less than $1 if you wanna get your guac, but if you go to the store, if you go to a restaurant and you wanna get a side of guac, it is gonna cost you at least $3 for a small side of guac, and you're barely gonna get a quarter's worth of guacamole. If you just make your nice tea at home, and I don't know about coffee, but tea is very easy to make at home. All you gotta do is warm up some water and put some tea leaves in there or put a tea packet in there. It is very easy. You don't need any fancy equipment. So if you just make your tea at home and you eat your avocado at home, you're gonna save $6 between the two. Now, if you do this 5 times a week, like many people do, 52 weeks a year, you are going to save $1,500 over the course of a year just by eating your avocados at home and just by making your tea at home. This is where I want to give you a little disclaimer, because you know what? I like tea, and sometimes I do like drinking in a tea shop. I'm not one of those people who says, I never go out to the tea shop and drink tea. I like to have a lot of meetings over tea. I don't go to the bar, I don't drink, I don't do things like that, but I do like tea. And I have a lot of meetings over tea. So sometimes for the experience, I will go out and I will drink this tea. But when it comes to my daily tea, I don't drink tea every single day, but when it comes to my regular general tea, then I'm just gonna make it at home, and I'm not going to the tea shop every morning to get my morning tea. This is where I want you to draw a line between consumption and enjoyment. If you're just going to the tea shop every morning to drink your tea and you're just putting extra guac in your lunch because you like guacamole, you are blowing money on things that you don't need. But if you're going out to hang out with your friends because you want to drink some tea together and have a good time, sure, go out and pay $3.50 for a tea. That's okay. But spending this money every single morning just because you don't want to brew it at home, that's a different story. It is okay to go out and have a cup of tea with your friends or go out to a restaurant once in a while, but it is different when you're talking about doing it every single day just because that's what you think is normal, because you want to go out and you want to eat a burrito and you want to get extra guac every single day. By the way, if you are eating in restaurants, just drink water. You are going to save a ton of money just by drinking water instead of ordering a Coke. One thing that I learned growing up in the Indian household is that everything is negotiable. If you're in India and you go out and you buy yourself some apples, you're going to negotiate the price of that. If you go out and you buy yourself a new shirt, you're going to negotiate the price of that. Okay? Almost everything is negotiable if you ask. Worst case, they just tell you no. One of the simplest and least painful ways to spend less money every single month is just to negotiate your bills lower. So what I want you to do is start by taking all of your utility bills. So your cable bill, your internet bill, your phone bills. Take these bills and now look at what your competitors are charging. Chances are that the competitors to the companies you have some lower introductory rates out there right now. Now what I want you to do is try to get the bill that you're paying right now down to your competitors' lower introductory rates. That way you're getting the same service at a lower price, so you're literally just saving money for doing nothing except making a 15-minute phone call. The way you do that is you're gonna call up the customer service number on your statement and you're gonna say, "Hi, I was wondering if there's anything you could do about my bill because I feel like it's really high." Now, they're gonna say either yes, we can bring it down a little bit, or they're gonna say no, there's nothing we can do. No matter what they say, even if they agree to lower your bill, I want you to push them lower. What you're gonna say is, "Oh, really? Okay, I saw that your competitor so-and-so was charging only $25 a month. Is there any way you can match or beat that? I'd really like to stay with your company." Now what you just did is you subtly put it in their head that you are considering leaving because their competitor is charging a lower fee. No company wants to lose a good paying customer to their competitor, especially if you've been there for a long time. So now what they're gonna do is they're gonna seriously see if they can bring your bill lower. If they don't bring your bill lower, or they don't bring it low enough, that's when you want to ask to speak with the manager, because managers typically have more negotiating room. The key here for any of this to work is you need to be nice, because customer service agents are getting yelled at all day long by people complaining about their bills. If you are nice to them, they will be nice to you. This should go for any big purchase you want to make. Your home, even if you're leasing your home, you can negotiate the price of your lease. Your car, anytime you make a big purchase, make sure you negotiate it first. Fifth, I want you to move your savings. And that means two different things. As soon as you get paid, I want you to automatically move some money from your checking account, where your money goes into, to a savings account. That way you can't accidentally spend the money, because sometimes we feel that if we have cash in the bank, we should spend it. Well, if that money automatically leaves before you can touch it, Now you're not going to have the urge to spend it because you're not going to see that money. So anytime you get paid, you need to automatically move some of your money to a savings account. That way you can't accidentally spend it on a new TV. Second, I want you to consider moving your savings account to an online bank that pays you a higher interest rate than a traditional bank, because if your money is saved at a traditional bank, chances are they're paying you next to nothing. If you move your money to an online bank, you should be able to get a much better return because online banks have lower fees. They don't have the same overhead and all the rent costs because they don't have those retail banks everywhere. So because they have lower fees, they can pay you a higher interest. Now, this higher interest is not going to substitute an investment and it's not going to make you rich. But if you're saving your money anyways, you might as well get a better return on your savings. That's what I do with my savings. I know that my savings are not doing anything except sitting there collecting dust, so I move my savings to an online bank. That way I can at least get some interest and get some money from my savings because it's just sitting there doing nothing anyways. And if you do want to learn more about how you can save your money and get a better return at an online bank, our team has written an article on this on our website, theminority-mindset.com, and I'll also link this article for you up here and in the description below. Sixth, I need you to start shopping around for the right things, because when I say shop around, I don't mean shopping around for a new Gucci scarf. I mean shopping around for the services that you can save some money on. Your insurance, so this is your health insurance, your home insurance, your car insurance, all the different insurances that you have, your phone bill, your cable bill, and your internet bill. I need you to shop around for these 4 things every single year, because chances are these companies are going to raise your bill every single year, and so you want to make sure you're getting the best rate, because if you just stick with one company because you don't want to shop around, you are going to get ripped off. So every year I want you to spend just half an hour shopping around. That way you can make sure you're getting the best deal possible. You can even negotiate the price of your bill lower like I just talked about, but you want to make sure that you're not overpaying, because this is a simple way to save a ton of money. Seventh, we all have things that are sitting there in a house that aren't doing anything. Like when I graduated law school, I had a ton of books in my room that were just taking up space and collecting dust. So I went out and I sold a bunch of my textbooks, and I made like $400 just selling the textbooks that were doing nothing except taking up space. We all have things in our homes that we're not using that are just taking up space and collecting dust. What I want you to do is take the things that you do not need and take them and sell them. Your kids' clothes, your old furniture, your old phone, your old TV, your old electronics, all these things have some value, and you can go out and you can turn these old things that are collecting dust into some cash if you just spend the time to go out and sell them. 8, pay your stuff on time. So this is one of my pet peeves. I cannot stand paying late fees, because when you pay for a late fee, you are paying for something that you're getting no value for. Like when you pay a $25 late fee, you are getting no extra value. You just forgot to pay the bill. And Americans on average are paying $250 a year in late fees alone. That's $250 that you're spending on something that's giving you no value and no return. If you just want to throw your money in the garbage, you might as well just mail it to me. Avoid paying late fees at all costs. Put it in your calendar, use auto pay, set reminders, do whatever you gotta do. That way you don't have to pay a $25 late fee. 9, you can use technology to help you save money automatically. There are apps out there like Honey and Piggy. I like to use Honey. And literally, as you're checking out, if you buy something online, Honey will come up and they'll tell you, oh, do you want to save $20 on your order just by using this coupon code? Yes. And so now you just save $20 by doing nothing except having this free extension that helps find you coupon codes to help you save money on purchases online. It's the same with using a loyalty program or a cashback program, where now you're just saving money by doing nothing except just using one of these free programs that are going to save you money because you use the free program. And lastly, if you want to save $1,000 quickly, what I want you to do is next time you buy something, I want you to ask yourself, would you rather have that sweater you want to buy or whatever it is you're buying, or would you rather have cash in your hand? If you'd rather make $150 or have $150 instead of having a sweater, well then you can just not buy the sweater and keep $150, because now this is $150 that you get to keep in your pocket because you just didn't spend this money on the sweater now. You got to keep the cash and you don't get the sweater, but at least you got some cash. By the way, in case you were wondering, I did not pay $150 for the sweater. I think I paid like $9 or $10 for the sweater because I bought it online on clearance. I have hired quite a few employees. We call our team members money nerds here at the Minority Mindset, but there are some things that if you're looking for a job right now that you need to stop doing, that way you can actually get the job that you want. The way the hiring process works at Minority Mindset is when you apply for a job, you gotta take a couple quizzes and you gotta answer a couple questions. If you pass that, then you're going to go through an email screening. If you pass that, you're going to go through a first round interview where we kind of see how you would fit in with our company culture. And the second round interview is more of a technical interview where we're going to see how good you are at what you do. And then if you pass that, then you're going to come to a third round interview where then you'll be interviewing with me, where I kind of see, are you going to fit with our company and are you dedicated to working hard? We get a ton of applications every single week, but less than 1% of these job applicants are going to make it to our third round interview, and only some of them are going to actually get the job. So if you want to know from my experience what you need to stop doing and what you need to start doing, that way you can actually get the job you want, make sure you watch this video until the end. But before we get into that, I need you to do me a quick favor and smash that thumbs up button below. And a quick word from our sponsor, Policygenius. If you are interested in getting life insurance, Policygenius is an easy way to go because they will give you a free life insurance quote, and they stand by what they do, because if you can find a cheaper life insurance quote anywhere else, they will pay you $100 for wasting your time. So if you want to learn more and get a free life insurance quote, I got the link to how you can do that with Policygenius in the description below. The first thing you got to do when you apply for a job is apply thoughtfully. Look, I know job posting sites like Indeed and ZipRecruiter and Glassdoor and LinkedIn make it easy for you to apply to jobs because you can kind of use those fast application tools where you just hit apply, 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 apply. But if you're just applying like that, you are going to be rejected by a ton of companies, especially the ones that you want to work for, because they want people to apply thoughtfully. They want to see how much thought you put into this application because we can see it on the employer side. If you apply for one of our minority mindset jobs and all you do is you hit the apply button and you send your resume and that's it, you are automatically going to be rejected. Here's a tip that I think a lot of people don't realize. If you apply for minority mindset, the first thing that I look at is not what your resume looks like. It's not what degree you got. It's not if you got a degree. It's not what your GPA is. It's what can you do to help us and how passionate are you? When we post a job, we have questions that we want applicants to fill out. We don't really care too much about what your answers are. I mean, we do care, but the main thing that we're looking at is, are you going to answer the questions and how thoughtfully are you going to answer the questions? Because if it looks like you don't care to answer the questions because you're too busy for us or you don't got time for us or you're not really putting much thought or much passion into what you're doing, then we don't want you to come work for us because we only want people that want to work for us to work for us. We're a small company and one bad team member, one bad money nerd in our team can destroy the entire company. So we're not going to let somebody come work for us if we don't feel that passion from you. So the first thing we're looking for is just your passion. How thoughtfully are you applying for our job? So first, that means when you're applying, make sure you're doing the full application process. If there are questions, if there are quizzes, do them to your best ability, and then submit a cover letter, but do not submit a generic cover letter because these are the most annoying things ever. If you want to work for us as a writer and you say that you're passionate about personal finance and you say that you're passionate about writing, but all of your previous experience show that you have no writing experience, maybe you do, but in your resume it doesn't say that, and your cover letter doesn't explain how you are passionate about writing and why you'd be passionate about writing for us. All it says is, dear sir or ma'am or dear hiring manager, thank you so much for looking at my resume. I've had this so-and-so experience, which is in your resume, so you're not telling me anything new, and that you'd really appreciate us taking the time for looking at your resume. If you're just copying and pasting this cover letter and you're just sending it to every place you apply to and you're not changing this cover letter based off of what the position is, you're not giving any more value to the employer. This cover letter is the place where you can show the employer why you are a good fit for this particular role. So if you're applying for a writing position, you got to change up some of this cover letter. You need to write in the first paragraph why you'd be a good applicant for this writing position, why you love writing from Minority Mindset or whatever company you're applying to, and why this is right for you. So you have to really relate this position in your cover letter to you. So this is your place to show, especially if you don't have enough experience, especially if you didn't get a degree in this, especially if you don't have a degree. This cover letter is your place where you can sell yourself. So do not post a generic cover letter that you're just copying and pasting. Your cover letter needs to be the place where you are selling yourself and you are going to show the employer why you are the best person for this position. I mean, this is the place where if somebody doesn't have any experience in writing and they want to get a writing job, because this is where I'm going to look for why. Because if you can sell me on your cover letter, which is a lot easier to do than with your resume, because your cover letter is going to show me how passionate you are. Because if you can sell me with your cover letter, I don't even care what your previous experience is. I don't care what you have on your resume. I want to see how passionate you are because anybody can learn how to do anything for the most part. Most people can learn how to do the job on the job, but you cannot train somebody about passion. So if you're passionate and we get that passion and you're decent at what you do, we can train you to be better. The one thing that we cannot train you to do is to be passionate about this position. The last thing that I need you to do on the cover letter is answer any questions that you think the employer is going to have in the cover letter, that way the employer doesn't have to waste his or her time trying to figure out the answer to these questions. For example, if a job is located in New York and you are living in Chicago and the job requires you to work in the office, let them know that you'd be willing to relocate. If you do not have a college degree, or if you didn't get a degree in this particular job field, talk about that in the cover letter. Say, yes, I know I don't have a degree in this, or I don't have a degree. However, I have a lot of experience, or have a lot of passion for this, or I've taken an online class on this, or I've gotten a certificate on this. Sell yourself here. Answer these questions. That way the employer doesn't have to ask this to you, because a lot of times the employer is not going to waste their time. If they don't know when you apply what the answer to this question is, they're not going to waste their time to ask, because they have dozens of other applications they can go through. So don't try to just let the employer figure it out. Tell the employer upfront by just putting it in your cover letter. The second thing that you need to do when you apply is research the company. Most companies do some sort of screening interview where they're just trying to figure out, are you going to be a good fit in the culture? Do you understand the company? Do you understand the position? Is it worth our time to pursue this interview process with you? The way we do that on our end is we do a culture interview after our email screening. But one of the things that we're really studying here is your passion for this position. And one of the ways that we look at that is we just want to understand, do you have any idea what our company is? If you're in an interview with us and we ask you, do you know what the minority mindset is? And you say, yeah, you guys have news and you give news to minority people in the United States, it is an automatic rejection, because we know that you couldn't spend 5 minutes going to our website, reading our about us, or just kind of going through our brand to understand what we do. Every company wants their team members and their employees to be passionate about the company, and there's no way you can be passionate about a company if you don't know what the company does. This is such a simple thing to do, but it can make a huge difference in the interview process, because if you understand the company, if you take 15 minutes and now you go through the company, you understand what they do, you understand the industry, you look at who their competitors are, you can have a really insightful conversation with the person that you're interviewing with, and you can say, hey, I saw that your competitor's doing this. Do you think that you're going to enter this vertical as well? Or what are you going to do about this? If you start asking these questions, the person that's interviewing you is going to say, holy guacamole, this person is definitely passionate about our industry, because they're giving us good ideas on how to grow as a company. The more research you do on a company, the better chance you have to get the job. Now, it doesn't guarantee your job, but you are going to raise your chances exponentially, because if somebody comes onto an interview with us and they say, yeah, I love the minority mindset, I watched a handful of your videos, I've even subscribed to your newsletter, all of a sudden, you have pretty much guaranteed a second round interview, because we see that you're passionate about what we do. Even if you're not, you have sold us that you have done your research and that you're willing to put in that work. If you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of work to get a job, then our company is not for you. We don't cater to everybody. It is very hard to get a job working for us. And so if you want to work for a company like Minority Mindset, you're going to have to be willing to put in that work. If you're not, then you got to go work for somebody else. And so then you kind of got to understand the different types of companies that there are out there, because some companies it's a lot easier to work at, but you might not get the same lifestyle. You might not get the same perks and the same kind of work environment that you would with a startup type of company. The third thing that you can do to boost your chances of getting a job is just send a message to the company. So this is kind of a secret. I don't know if I should disclose on YouTube, but we've had very few people do this in the past, and every single one of the people that have done this have come to at least a final round interview. If you're applying for a job with us, the first thing you do obviously is you apply, you send your resume, you answer the questions, you submit your cover letter. But the next thing that you can do to really boost your chances is figure out who is involved in the company and send them a message. Go out to them on LinkedIn or find their email and just shoot them a message saying, hi, so-and-so, I just wanted to let you know that I applied for this position. I really, really love your company. I really love what you stand by, and I would love to have the opportunity to be interviewed by you, because I'm super passionate about this role, and I would love to have the opportunity to work for you. If you're sending this message in a genuine way, where you're just trying to show how passionate you are and how badly you want to work for this position, you are going to be much more likely to get invited for an interview, because it shows that you're a go-getter. People want to see hustlers. People want to have people who are going to put in the work, go the extra mile, and do whatever it takes. And if you can demonstrate that in the application process, then you have a much better chance of getting the job, because what a lot of people miss is the application process isn't just the resume. It's the entire thing. It's how do you conduct yourself through the application process. Because if you are just submitting one-word answers to questions that people get you, if you don't care about your spelling, if you don't care about the way you present yourself through the application process, people are going to notice that. The more that you can show you care, the better chance you have. Now, what I do not want you to do is use this and then go and create a generic message that you're just going to send out now every time you apply for a job, because employers are going to catch on to that. It's very easy to see what's a copy and pasted message and what's something that was carefully crafted for this particular company. And so if you're just copying and pasting, then you're going to be an automatic out, because now companies can see that you don't really care. But if you're willing to put in the work to write something custom, to show why you care about this particular position with this particular company, then the company is going to understand. The fourth thing that you have to do if you want to get a good job is follow up, and follow up in a timely manner. There's a few things that you got to understand about the follow-up. First, if the interviewer or you say that you're going to send in some information, and you say you're going to send it in by a certain day and a certain time, send it in by that day and time. Send it in early. Because if you say you're going to send it in by Friday at 5 o'clock and you send it in Friday at 4:59 p.m., yeah, you got it in on time, but you kept everybody waiting until the last second. And so yeah, it's on time, but you got to understand these are things that people are looking at. They want to see how ambitious you are, how driven you are. Are you going to get things done early or on time, or are you going to procrastinate until the last minute? And so make sure you send it in before 5, but send it in earlier. And if you do not send it in, then that's pretty much a guaranteed out, because you do not want to make this first impression where you say you're going to send something, or somebody asks you to send something in, and now they have to follow up with you and say, hey, I know you said you were going to send me this writing sample, but I haven't gotten it yet. Are you going to send it soon? And so if you start making excuses before you even get the job, chances are you're not going to get that job. The second thing that I want you to do with the follow-up is when you have an interview with somebody, first ask some questions in the end of the interview. Every time at the end of an interview, they're going to ask you, do you have any questions? Come up with a list of questions before the interview. That way it looks like you care. And so ask your questions and then ask, what is your best email address? That way I can contact you if I have any questions. Once you get the email address, after the call, send them an email thanking them for their time and the interview. Tell them why you love the position and why you think you'd be a good fit for the position, using specific things that happened in the interview. If you do that, now all of a sudden you reminded them of you, you reminded them that they had an interview with you, and you also reminded them that you care about the position. The last thing that I want you to understand about the follow-up is if you apply for a job and you do an interview, and after the interview you send the follow-up thank you message and you don't hear from them, and a week goes by, follow up with them. Say, hi, I just wanted to see how everything is coming. Do you have an update for me? And what this shows is, yes, you still care about the position. Because if you just don't reply, then they think, okay, well, this person doesn't care, so we don't need to reject them or whatever. If you kind of put yourself back on top of the list, again, it's showing that you care about the position. When a company hires you, they're making an investment, not just in the things that you can do, but in you. And so they want to see that you are a good fit in the company. They want to see that you care. They want to see that you're hardworking, and they want to see that you're passionate about the company, especially if it's a small company. Because if it's a small company, then chances are everyone is going to be very passionate and very driven. And if one person comes in and they're lazy or they don't care, it is going to bring everybody down, and you're going to be kicked out very fast. And so no company wants to go through that. And so they want to see how passionate are you. If you are a driven person, you got to demonstrate that through the application process. And the fifth thing that you got to understand during the application process is the company culture, because sometimes you're just not going to fit with the company. When you're applying for a job, employers want somebody who doesn't just want the job for a paycheck. Employers want people who want the job because they're actually passionate about it. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, if I wasn't getting paid, I wouldn't be going to work. I understand that. Getting paid is a part of the process, but if you're getting paid, you might as well enjoy what you're doing, especially if you're working for a small company. And so this is what you got to demonstrate, and this is where you also have to understand that sometimes you're just not going to be a good fit with the company culture, and that's something that you have to understand, because this needs to be a symbiotic relationship where you're not just going to change yourself to fit with the company. I mean, it's kind of like a real relationship where you want to make sure that you're a good match for each other. And so just like how the company is going to be vetting you out, you got to vet the company out too. This is where one of the things that you can ask in your interviews is about the company culture. What is the company culture like, and do you have any core values? You can ask about these core values, and you can talk about if they align with you. If they align with you, great. If they don't align with you, then maybe this isn't a company that you should pursue because you're not going to be happy at this job. It all really comes back to passion for the position and how much you care about the company. Because if you are passionate about the position, even if you don't have the full experience, even if there are more people that are better than you at it, but if you really care about it, you can beat the people that are better than you, but just by showing how passionate you are. So even if you have a lack of experience, and even if you have a lack of schooling, you can make up for that with more passion and more caring about the position. If there's one thing that you got out of this video, and the thing that I want you to understand about companies like ours, which is a lot of kind of the newer age companies, is when we make our hire decisions, we don't make this decision based off of what school you went to or what degree you got. We make this decision by how passionate you are, how you'd fit with our company, and then how you care about this position and what experience you have with this position. So even if you don't have a degree in this position, if you care about it and you're going out of your way to learn about it, you have a much better shot than somebody who just has a degree but doesn't really care too much about what they're doing. Before we get into the next clip, I want to let you know that if you are interested in money management and investing, our team put together an amazing guide that you can download for free that walks you through how to manage your money the right way and how to invest your money and how you can build your wealth over the long term. So if you want to download this guide and start learning how you can be better with your money and how you can start investing for wealth, you can download this guide for free when you subscribe to our daily newsletter, and I got the link to how you can download this guide in the description below. The stock market is one of the most accessible wealth building tools that we have, but the issue is most of us are never taught about how to use the stock market the right way. For a lot of people, stock market investing is finding a hot stock, throwing your money into it, and then watching your money disappear. Oh, not again. If you really want to understand the stock market, there's 5 things you need to know. First, you need to understand what is the stock market. In this section, I'm going to be going over what's the Dow Jones, NASDAQ, S&P 500, why does the stock market exist, and how do stocks work. After that, we're going to be talking about how you can make money. So this is the difference between making money through dividends and appreciation, what causes a stock to go up. Then we're going to talk about different investing strategies. You might have heard people talk about fundamental analysis, technical analysis. I'll be talking about active investing and passive investing in this section. Then I'm going to be talking about some of the different investment options you have. You might have heard people talk about things like growth stocks, blue chip stocks, REITs. We're also going to be talking about mutual funds, index funds, and ETFs. And then we're going to wrap it up by talking about how do you actually research the stocks and take action. So this is looking at things like 10Ks, 10Qs, researching stock charts. This is where you actually are making the money because now you're taking action. I'm going to be going over these 5 things in this video, but before I do that, I need you to do me a quick favor and smash that thumbs up button below, because the way the YouTube algorithm works, if you do not smash that thumbs up button, then YouTube is much less likely to show you and other people our financial news and education videos. Let's start with this. What in the world is the stock market? The stock market is a place where you and I, regular people, can go and invest in companies. When you invest in a company, you become one of the owners of a company. So if you go out and you buy one of the shares of the McDonald's stock, you become one of the owners of McDonald's. Now, if you just buy one stock, you're not a major shareholder. I mean, you only own 1/750 millionth of the company, but you're still one of the owners of McDonald's. And as an owner, you actually get the right to vote on some of McDonald's business decisions. A company that trades on the stock market is known as a public company because this company is publicly traded, meaning anybody can go and buy shares of this company on the stock market. You can compare that to a private company, kind of like ours, Minority Mindset, because you can't buy shares of Minority Mindset on the stock market. If you wanted to buy an ownership stake in Minority Mindset, you would have to call me up and I would say, sorry, we're not selling. The reason the stock market exists is it's a way for companies to finance the future growth. So if you are a big company and you need more cash to grow, then what you could do is you could sell 20% of your company now instead of to private investors to the public market on the stock market by now giving this 20% of ownership to the public on the stock market. Now you are a publicly traded company and everybody knows how much your company is worth, and people have the opportunity to buy shares in your company. When you hear people say things like the stock market is up or the stock market is down, what they usually mean is an index like the Dow Jones or the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ is up or down. So these are called indexes because they're essentially baskets or groups of stocks. The Dow Jones is a group of 30 very big companies. The S&P 500 is a group of 500 of the largest companies on the stock market, and the NASDAQ is a group of tech companies. So they're called indexes because they're groups of stocks, and they essentially just give you a sample of what's going on in the broader stock market. When you invest in the stock market, you can invest into individual companies like McDonald's, I mentioned that just a minute ago, or you can invest in an index and get exposure to the broader stock market, but I'll be talking about that in just a little bit. Second, how do you make money in the stock market? Well, in general, the goal in the stock market is to invest in a company that becomes more profitable and makes more money. That way you make money, but the way you make money is one of two ways. When you invest in the stock market, you can make money through appreciation or dividends. Appreciation is when you invest in a company and the value of a company goes up. So if you invest in a stock and you buy the stock at $100 a share and 2 years later the stock goes to $200 a share and you sell it, the $100 of profit that you just made is called appreciation. Other times you can also make money through dividends. Dividends are literally just cash payments that a company gives you because you invested in a company. So if you go out and invest in a company that's trading for $100 a share, sometimes this company is going to send you a $5 check every single year just because you own shares of this company. You can think of it this way. When a company is mature and they have a lot of cash and a lot of profits, there's three things that they can do with their extra cash. They can save this cash for an emergency, they can invest this money back into their business, that way they can grow bigger, or they can reward you, the shareholders, the investors, by giving you some cash. That way now you're happy for investing in this company, and this will attract more investors to want to invest in this company. Most dividends are paid quarterly, meaning every 3 months. So if you invest in a company that pays a dividend, you're gonna get a check every 3 months, or if you want, you can have this cash reinvested into your stock. That way now instead of getting a physical check, you are getting more stock in the company. Now, dividends sound cool. I'm a big fan of dividends, but there are a couple drawbacks with dividends that I want you to understand. First, when a company pays a dividend, you have to understand that means the company is not necessarily going to grow as fast, because if a company is paying out $1 billion in dividends, then that's $1 billion the company is not using to actually grow the company to make more profits and make more revenue. So if you have a company that's paying out a lot of dividends, you're typically not going to see as much appreciation as you would if a company was using this money that's spent on dividends to actually grow the company. So if a company is paying out dividends, they're usually more stable companies and they're bigger companies because they have a lot of cash that they don't really want to invest back into the company, so they're rewarding their owners with the dividends. Second, with dividends, you have to pay taxes on your profits. So this is kind of like your pro and con. You have to pay taxes on all of your income, but with dividends, if you are reinvesting your dividends back into the company, you're not getting this cash in your hand, but you still have to pay taxes on the profits that you got. Not every company pays a dividend. So if this is something you're interested in, you have to look into the actual company and see if they're paying a dividend or not. And like I was saying before, the companies that pay dividends are typically your larger, kind of more mature and established companies, because your smaller companies, your growth companies, the tech companies, the ones that are really trying to grow fast, they're investing every dollar they can back into the company because their goal is to grow as big as possible, as fast as possible. So companies like that, their goal is to grow their stock price as fast as they can. The advantage with that, if you're investing in a company that's investing heavily in their growth, is you don't have to pay taxes on dividends because you're not getting any dividends. A company is investing their money back into the company, so hopefully you have a big stock price and you don't have to pay any taxes on your appreciation until you actually sell your stock. So that's one of the advantages of appreciation. But one of the downfalls is it also comes with more risk, because there's a chance that the company will fail, and if the company fails, you don't have anything to show for it because you didn't get any cash through dividends. So they both have the pros and cons, and as an investor, you need to know why you're investing. Are you investing for this or this? The question now you might be wondering is, what causes a stock price to go up? Well, on a very broad level and a very simple level, stock prices go up based on supply and demand. If you have a lot of demand to buy a stock and there's not a huge supply of stock, then the price of the stock is going to go up because you're going to have buyers that are fighting each other to buy the stock, and this is going to push the stock price up. And if you have a lot of supply but no demand because nobody wants to buy the stock, then you're going to see the price of the stock fall. In the short term, the supply and demand is really fueled by emotion. Like, people might think, oh my God, Tesla is the future, and everybody gets behind Tesla, and then you see this huge demand to buy Tesla, so the price of Tesla stock goes up. But in the long run, what really affects the stock's price is its fundamentals. That's how much money is the company making, how are their profits looking, are their revenues growing, are their profits growing, how is the management, and are they innovating for the future? So these are the things that really affect a company's stock price over the long term. But in the short term, a company's stock price can be really volatile based off of people's emotions, because the stock market is emotional. If you want to invest in stocks, it is very simple. All you have to do is open up a free account with a stock brokerage, and then you can buy or sell whatever stocks you want. Back in the day, it wasn't so easy. Back in the day, if you wanted to invest in the stock market, you'd have to call up a stockbroker, and then the stockbroker would then have to make a deal with Wall Street and then buy or sell whatever stock you want. It was a very long and difficult process, but now it is very simple. If you do want to learn more about how you can find a good stock brokerage to use based off of your financial goals, our team has articles on this on our website, theminoritymindset.com, and I'll also link an article for you up here and in the description below. Third, let's talk about investing strategies, because there's more than one way to invest in the stock market. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they invest in the stock market, because for a lot of people, their strategy is invest in a company that I think is going to be big, and then when it goes down, sell it for a loss. There's a lot of ways to invest in the stock market, and you need to have a strategy on how you're going to make money. If you want to be a stock market investor, then when you buy an investment, your goal should be to own your investment for at least a year. Because if you don't own your investment for at least a year, then you're also going to be subject to higher taxes, because the way that the tax code works, if you own your investment for longer than a year, then that's categorized as long-term capital gains and you get lower tax rates. But if you buy a stock and sell it for a profit in less than a year, then you're going to be subject to higher taxes called your ordinary income taxes, because the United States government and the IRS doesn't look at that as an investment, because now you're just trading, you're flipping stocks. This isn't to say that you cannot make money trading stocks. This is for you to understand what your goal is as an investor, because if you don't know what your goal is as an investor, you're not going to be able to come up with a strategy. On the very highest level, there are two different kinds of investment strategies. There is an active way investing in the stock market and a passive way. An active investment strategy means that you're now actively researching companies and stocks and you're buying based off of that. And passive means you're not really doing much research. You just have some money automatically being invested for you every week or every month. Now, within this type of active investing, there's a whole bunch of different strategies that you can use, but they ultimately come down to doing two different types of research. You can either do fundamental research, so I'm gonna call it fund, or technical research. Or you can also do both depending on what strategy you have, but those are the two types of research you can do, fundamental or technical. As a passive investor, you're mainly going to be looking at the fundamental type of research. Fundamental research means you're looking at the company itself. You're looking at how much money a company is making, what their profits are, who the management is, and how they're innovating. Technical research means you're looking at stock charts. You're looking at momentum. You're saying, oh, this company looks like it's about to go up because of all these indicators, and so you buy based off of that. Warren Buffett is a fundamental investor. He likes to look at companies, he likes to read financial statements, and he wants to find a company that's undervalued, and he wants to own it for a long time. That way he can make a profit over the long term. And he is an active investor because he does the research to actually find the companies to invest in, and he is the one that's picking these stocks and doing this research, and he makes these decisions when he thinks it's a good time to invest. You can compare that to a passive fundamental investment, where now you can pick a few stocks or a few funds that you want to own, and then every single month you have $100 or $1,000 or $10,000, whatever you can afford. You have this money going into your investments, being divided up into your 3 or 5 funds, whatever you have, and this is just passively happening without you actively trying to find new funds. It's just every month or every week, more money is just being invested into your account. Technical trading is now when you're looking at stock charts and you're looking at momentum. You're looking at different indicators that tell you that you think the stock price is going to go up. Maybe you're looking at how many people are buying the stocks of the volume. Maybe you're looking at moving averages to kind of see the trend of which way the stock price is moving. So you're looking at different indicators to tell you that you think the stock market is going up, at least in the short term. If you don't like the idea of putting time into the stock market, or if you don't care about studying companies, or if you don't care about stock charts, then passive investing is probably best for you, because this one requires the least amount of work. You find a few stocks or funds that you want to invest in, and then every week or every month, you are just going to continue to put money into that. If you like the idea of looking at companies, but you don't like the idea of looking at stock charts or looking at these moving averages, you just want to invest in a company like Warren Buffett does because you want to find an undervalued company and invest in it for the long term, then being an active fundamental investor is probably best for you. If you don't like the idea of waiting years to potentially see a profit, then technical investing is probably better for you. Now, while technical investing can make you the most money in the short term, it also comes with the most risk, because your goal is to make money in a shorter amount of time. A lot of technical investors are buying and selling stocks within a year. Fundamental investors are usually looking to make money over the long term. So now we're talking multiple years, and so there's less risk, but also less opportunity to make a whole bunch of money very quickly. For the vast majority of people who don't care about studying companies or reading financial statements or spending time learning the stock market, passive investing is the right way to go. Now, I already made a video where I went over passive investing in good detail, so if you want to watch that video, I will link it for you in the description below. Fourth, let's talk about the different types of investments on the stock market, because one way you can invest in the stock market is by investing in stocks. But that's not the only way that you can invest in the stock market. You can invest in the stock market and make money in the stock market by investing in individual stocks. You can invest in mutual funds, you can invest in index funds, and you can invest in ETFs. If you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, you've probably heard me talk about these things before, and if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you should probably do that. Stocks are when you're investing in individual companies. This is what I've been talking about most of this video. So if you invest in the McDonald's company, or in Lululemon, or in Tesla, or in Amazon, or in Apple, now you're investing in individual companies. And within the stock segment, there are different types of stocks out there. Like, you can invest in blue chip companies. These are your more stable, more established, your larger companies. You can invest in growth companies. Growth companies are your startups, your smaller companies. These are companies that are investing heavily into their growth. So growth companies are not companies that are paying out dividends. These are companies that are spending every dollar they have back into their company to grow as big as possible, as fast as possible. So more risk, but the opportunity to see more appreciation. You have things like REIT stocks. REIT stocks stand for Real Estate Investment Trusts. These are companies that pay out high dividends because these companies make money through rent, and the law says that REIT stocks are required to pay you 90% of their taxable income through dividends. So REITs give people exposure to real estate, and you can make income through dividends without having to go out and physically buy real estate. So these are a few ways that you can invest in stocks. And again, you want to invest in stocks based off of your investment strategy, your investment goals. But this isn't the only way to invest in the stock market, because the downfall with investing in stocks is if you invest your money in a stock, let's say Amazon, and Amazon starts to fail, they start losing money and they go out of business, then all of your money goes down the drain. Now you might be thinking, oh, Amazon's never gonna fail. But you know, companies do fail. And if you invest in a company that fails, then all of your money is gone. That's where these options come in handy. Mutual funds are indexes, so a group of stocks that are managed by a very experienced and usually a very expensive money manager. So when you invest in a mutual fund, you are paying this money manager to find you a portfolio and investment in stocks, and this person is going to manage your stock portfolio, and their goal is to help you beat the market, and in exchange, you're going to pay them a fee. Index funds work very similar to mutual funds, except with index funds, you're not paying a money manager to manage your account. This is passively managed by a computer. So essentially with an index fund, you can invest into an index, like you can invest into an index that gives you exposure to the top 500 companies on the stock market. And now, if these top 500 companies go up, your index fund goes up. If these top 500 companies go down, your index goes down. The advantage with index funds is you tend to have low fees, you tend to have less risk, and you can typically match the returns of the stock market. The downfall is you typically have less potential upside because you might have some great companies in your fund, but they're going to be balanced out by the losers. But this can be a good way for you to invest and get low fees and get exposure to the general stock market. An ETF is an exchange traded fund, and this is kind of like a basket statement, because all this means is this is a fund that you can buy and sell on a digital stock brokerage. So the reason the word ETF even exists is because a lot of mutual funds cannot be bought and sold on the stock market. If you want to buy a lot of mutual funds, you have to call up a broker and purchase shares of a mutual fund manually. With an ETF, it's all electronic, so you can buy and sell shares of this ETF kind of like you would any other stock. Now look, I am just a random guy on YouTube, okay? So you should always do your own due diligence and never blindly listen to a random guy on YouTube, because investing has risks and you are never guaranteed to make money when you invest. But a couple examples of index funds that give you exposure to the general stock market are VOO and SPY. If you invest in one of these two funds, you will get exposure to the top 500 companies in the stock market, and now you don't have to go out and try to find the best stock to invest in. Now you're investing in the general stock market. I want to kind of give you an idea of what long-term returns in the stock market look like when you play the stock market for the long game. So over the long term, the stock market typically goes up by somewhere between 7 and 10% a year. Now, this doesn't mean the stock market always goes up, and this doesn't mean that it always goes up by 7 to 10% a year. This means on average, it goes up by 7 to 10% a year. Some years it'll be more, some years it'll be less. Sticking with the lower end of the equation, let's say you invest $10 a day or $300 a month, and you can get a 7% return on your money. And let's say you do this for 45 years. So you start doing this when you are 21 years old, and you continue to do this until you retire at 66. If you do this and every single month you invest $300, you will retire with $1.1 million from your $10 a day investment. The reason I want to show you this because let's say you start a little bit later. Let's say you start investing not at 21, but now at 31, and you continue to do this until you're 66. So now this is 35 years, but you're still doing the same investment. You're still doing $10 a day or $300 a month. Now, if you do the same investment, you're not going to retire with $1.1 million. You're going to retire with $535,000. Still a lot of money, but you're leaving a lot of money on the table because your money doesn't have as much time to compound. Time is very important when it comes to investing your money over the long term because every single year your money has more time to grow and compound, and the longer you let your money grow, the more wealth it's going to build you. If you want to grow your money even more, then there's two things you can do. You can either invest more money or invest your money more aggressively, meaning get a better rate of return. So let's assume now that you're investing $20 a day and you continue to get the 7% return a year. If you do this for 45 years, so you start when you're 21 and you continue to do this until you're 66, then you are going to retire with over $2.2 million from your $600 a month investment. If you cut 10 years out of the equation because you didn't know about investing until you're 31, so you do this for 35 years, now you will only retire with $1 million. Now, I know, only $1 million. $1 million is still a lot of money, but you're leaving a lot of money on the table by not starting sooner. This is where a lot of people say things like, oh, I didn't start investing when I was younger. Did I miss my shot at becoming wealthy? Is it too late for me to start investing? No, it's not. Remember what I said before. If you want to get better returns, you either have to invest more money or invest more aggressively. Maybe you have to invest more money, or maybe you have to be a little bit more active with your investments. That way you can get a better return. So now let's go through this example again, where you're investing $20 a day and now you're a little bit more aggressive. So you're trying to get a 10% return. If you do this for 45 years, just to show you the example, now you're going to end up with $5.5 million. If you start a little bit later at 31 years old and you do this for 35 years, now you're going to end up with $2.2 million. So you're still a millionaire. And if you start this at 41 years old, now you only do this for 25 years, you're still going to end up with $750,000 in retirement. So time and consistency are very important for you to build this wealth over the long term. And if you're trying to make up for this lost time, then you need to either invest more aggressively or invest more money. And if you don't have extra money to invest, then you might have to look into doing something like a side hustle or starting your own business. That way you have extra cash to invest. That way you can build your wealth. And this is also more of a passive investing structure. Right now, you're not trying to get amazing returns. You're just trying to match the market by passively investing your money into a fund that gives you the same returns as the stock market. Active returns can get you better returns, but again, it comes with more risk. Like if you had invested $10,000 in Amazon back in 2010, that $10,000 investment would have grown to $170,000 in 2020, but that again comes with more risk because there's a lot of companies that didn't get the same returns as Amazon. Now, when it comes to research and taking action on your investments, you have to understand that the investors that make the most money are not the investors that invest on emotion. It's the investors that invest on financials. A lot of people are investing in the stock market when they feel excited because they think, oh my God, so many people are making money in this stock, so let me buy in. And then when the stock starts to come down, they panic and they sell. If I had to diagram it out for you, it looks something like this. So you see a stock go up like this, then somebody at this point gets excited, they get greedy and they say, oh, everybody's making so much money because the stock has shot up so much. So now they come in and buy at the peak. And then people realize that, oh, this stock might be a little overvalued. So they start taking off their profits right here. And what do you see happen? The stock price starts to come down. And now when the stock starts to come down, people start to panic sell. And now this is where you sell because you panic, you get worried, you see your stock in the red, and so people sell. I do not want you to be an emotional investor. I want you to be a financial investor, which means you need to know how to do the research. That way you can find the information you need to actually invest in a company for the long term to make money. When a company is publicly traded, so it's on the stock market, it is required by the SEC to release certain information about the company. That way people like you, investors, can make smart decisions. One of the things that a company is required to do is every 3 months or every quarter, it is required to have an earnings call where it releases something called a 10Q. A 10Q is its quarterly, so every 3 months, a quarterly financial statement. This statement will tell you how much money a company made, how much revenue it made, how much profit it made, how much money it lost, lost. This is how much money it made over the last quarter that it's reporting for. But what you need to remember about the 10Q is these are unaudited statements. So these are statements just released by the company. A 10K is an annual statement released by a company. So every single year, a company is going to have to compile all of their financial data for the last year, how much money they made, how much money they lost, where their money is going, and all of that information, and they're going to compile it into the 10K. The interesting thing about the 10K is this is supposed to be a little bit more accurate because these are financially audited statements. You want to be reading the information that's on these documents. Now, if you don't want to actually read these actual financial statements, what you can do is go to a stock website like Seeking Alpha or finance.yahoo.com. I'll link these for you in the description. You can go to these websites and they're going to break down the information that's in these financial statements. So you can go there and see how much revenue a company is making, how their revenues have been growing, how the profits have been doing, and everything else, and they will list it out for you. That way you can look at the financials of a company. When it comes to doing technical analysis, that's when you're going to want to be looking at stock charts. So you can go to a website like stockcharts.com and then you can look at different indicators for a stock. There are tons and tons and tons of different indicators out there, and so what you want to do is create a strategy that you follow, because one indicator might tell you to sell and another indicator might tell you to buy. So you need to make sure that you have your own strategy and look at the indicators for that and follow your investment goals based off of your strategy, because if you don't, then you're going to go down this rabbit hole of never knowing what to buy and when to sell, and it is going to be very overwhelming. If you enjoyed this video, here's a video on Vanguard ETFs that I think you'll love, and while you're at it, download our free stock market PDF, and as always, keep hustling. Instead of having this guy with a mustache manage your money, how about, and let me erase the mustache and the person, how about we just have a computer manage your investments, because computers are a whole lot cheaper to manage